This is Steve Zumbrun again, speaking on the demise of the Baltimore Ravens and Coach John Harbaugh. I have done quite a few of these videos, and it never ceases to amaze me when I even go back and think of how the God of the universe came down and spoke the words of future events into my life. And I'm sure people who are listening, and I'm not doing this for any to subscribe or any of that stuff, or I don't care what anybody thinks, because I know what God thinks, and I know what God did, and I know what He intended to do, and I know that He spoke. And if you're listening and you're not a believer and you're not filled with the Holy Spirit, and you look at me and say, this guy's crazy, God doesn't speak like He said, well, I'm sorry to tell you that He does, and He speaks clearly, and He's spoken clearly to me for 50 years about many, many different events, many different people, many things that have come to pass. And I'm not here to impress man. I'm not here to impress anybody with what I've done. I'm just here to do God's will. And what He meant to happen was unbelievable. What He showed me was unbelievable. And all along, when going to the big game in New Orleans for the Super Bowl, and to meet John and to be big part of his life, a big part of his life for 11, 12, 13, whatever years since the Super Bowl, and to be right in the center of all the things that were going on with the team and the Ravens. Every year I would hear God's voice. I'd get up 1, 2 in the morning and spend hours hearing from the Holy Spirit. This happened for many years, maybe 10, 11 years. And God would give me a word from the Holy Spirit, and I would send it to Harbaugh. And he was so impressed and so happy with the words I gave him through the Holy Spirit. He would say to me, well, you ought to write a book, write a book on all the things that God speaks to you. Or he would say, you've impacted my life more than anyone in terms of spiritual. We had that kind of relationship. Went over his house, I came to camp anytime I wanted to for the first couple of years. We just had such a relationship, and he shared everything with me, even about Lamar. And the reason I'm sharing them with you now is because people need to know. People need to know that there's a supernatural world out there. There's a supernatural God, that He wants to do things in our lives. And the reason He doesn't do things in many people's lives is because they don't seek Him enough. They don't go after Him. But I go after Him. I sacrifice my time in the mornings. It's not a sacrifice. It's a pleasure to be in the presence of the Holy Spirit, to get up every morning and just to refresh myself in Him. He's done so much. He's blessed me so much, that He done such a thing like this, that He put me in a situation that I was able to see supernaturally the functioning of the team, and the reason for the breakdown of the team, that one player and one person can mess up everything, and one person and one player can dominate and bring total success to a team. Of course, I played sports. I'm 72 now. It's been a long time. In the 70s, the early and mid 70s, in Baltimore, and I played on a high school and college level. So it's not like I'm foreign to sports and what makes it function, and what the players can be a poison or they can be a blessing. But again, the reason I bring up Lamar Jackson like I have in the past is because people don't understand that just because you have talent, just because you look good, just because you make the right play at the right time, that you can be poison to a team. And I believe, and there's so many integral parts of what happened to the team, that they didn't succeed at the end, and they were a house divided. Like I mentioned in other videos, that Harbaugh could not deal with the personality that he brought and he just felt like all he needed to do, show up at the games and play. He didn't have to practice when he wanted, just came and left. And some players are that good that they can do that, but it does affect the outcome of many games in a season. Didn't watch films, little things like that can make a difference. And I can't emphasize enough that I was there. I heard, I saw, God showed me between God and his supernatural speaking and through watching Harbaugh handle things and not handle things. I was there for everything. The media has nothing on me. The sports, what his name is, Preston, has nothing on me. The other players, most of them didn't even understand. John told me everything that he kept from, I think, the assistant coaches, because he and I trusted each other. But at the end, it's amazing how God works. At the end, last year, I had lunch with John. I looked him in the eyes and said, John, unless you listen to what God's saying, it's going to be your demise. And I said, you gonna listen or not? He says, no, I'm going to do it my way. I said, okay, well, I warned you, okay? If you listen to God, you'd be in the championship game. You'd be in the Super Bowl. If you're not, it's going to be your demise. That's God's truth. I went and told him that. When everybody else was saying he was going to the Super Bowl, I was telling him, God is not happy. That's what I was. God is not happy with you, John, and you're going to face your demise. And that's when I told him, because wasn't my words. It was words from God himself. And one thing I've learned in life, folks, and I hope you've learned, you don't come against God and his word. The Bible says if you come against the person that sends that, you come against God himself. And that's what happened to Harbaugh. I tried to, when the season was over, I said, John, let's go out to lunch, let's talk. He didn't want to hear it. And then he got fired. Wow, it's a lot.